All right, so here we go. Five, four, three, two, one. Ta-da! Hey! What's going on, Big D?
Not much. Up with you?
I am doing great. Try to look that way and
Right.
not at me. I know it's hard. You'll get used to it. You will. Trust me. Trust me. So welcome to the show.
Hi.
The show that has no name.
Yes.
Or the show with no name. I was flipping between the two, and then I decided no, with no name is the best way to go.
Yes.
So welcome to the show with no name.
Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Danny, and I am his best friend's daughter.
Indeed. Hey man, I told you I would scrape the pool, and friends and family, they were all gonna get hit. I don't care if it was the kids of my friends, whatever.
Yeah, it's true. Well, the minute that Dad texted me, he was like, "Hey, Chris is having a podcast. Do you want to be on it?" And I immediately was like, "Yes, send me everything." No,
That's great, man.
I was so excited.
We'll try not to talk over each other. I know we're both very excited. I'm excited because it's the first time actually having someone in studio, so this is totally just a new thing for me. So I'm all like, ah!
And this is the first time I'm getting blinded by lights everywhere,
I
and
know.
it's reflecting in my
It's
glasses.
great. But hey, we look good.
We do.
It looks very well.
Especially with my new hair. So
Yeah,
I
see?
cut and dyed it
Look at you.
yesterday.
Looking good, looking
Oh.
sharp. I seen that yesterday. I thought it was very sharp.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. I really, I don't know. I think being your age nowadays it's going to be something I think really cool because, and in my opinion, right? But I think kids now can be themselves to an extent more than they ever could. Like, if you were to dye your hair like that when I was a kid, parents would be like, "Oh my God, why would they let your kid do that?" Blah, blah. Like it's insane, right? But now there's more freedom, and I think it's probably because we had to hear that as kids, and we're like, I don't want to do that to my kid. I know how much I hated it, right?
Yeah.
So listen, I want to talk to you about a few things. Go as deep as you'd like, and if you something while we're talking about something, you think of something else, follow that dog, man.
Okay.
Chase that bone, okay? Because that's what makes a conversation. At least that's what I find.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you because you're at that age right now where you've just moved out of the house.
Yes.
Right?
A week ago.
Exactly, right? New freedoms.
Yeah.
And I think having the aspect of a kid. Oops, wrong one. See, I'm still getting used to this. Hey, there I am. having being at your age and seeing, I kind of want to see where your headset is on, the world and where you kind of think we're heading, or not necessarily specifically in your future, what you think you're going to do, but just what kind of the world's heading towards in your eyes right now. I know that's a deep one, right?
Oh, that's a huge question because I've thought about it like 110 times. I like to do a lot of writing, so sci-fi fantasy is kind of like one of my favorite things in the world. So like I've thought of like all sorts of these different ideas for like where the world is going. I guess short term I'm seeing like a lot of I sound like a psychic. I'm seeing in the future. Kind of a lot of like technology is gonna go like through the roof. Like it's
I totally agree.
expanding. That's probably gonna be the biggest changing like section of the world, I guess. And culture, I think, is another thing that's gonna like skyrocket. Those are gonna be the two main things I think leading into the future is culture changing and technology being incorporated into those cultures. So as the world kind of evolves into like this different I find that popularity has kind of become a thing with the internet. The internet has played a huge role in the last like a couple decades of popularity, where even now we have some people who are famous becoming leaders in different countries. Yeah,
Big time.
I'm looking at you, America. I'm not going to be subtle. But it's because of the internet and having these, the culture change of having to be able to relate to people has become, I guess it's always kind of been there, but it's been bigger now in the last little bit. I forget where I was going with this. I gotta be honest with you.
No. I mean, I hear you because I think most of us, I think a lot of people don't realize how much technology really is changing or how fast it's building up and where it's going. I don't think we understand how social media affects us. I don't think we understand how Um, the science that's going around us right now is going to affect us. One of the things I seem to talk about all the time, and I really hope people don't get bored about me talking about it, but it's CRISPR and the way CRISPR is going to change the world. But besides that, we have AI. Like, I've read enough stuff right now where, you know, there's what we're talking 10 years, full blown AI is
Yeah.
the thing, and people are all, you kind of get that, oh, it's going to take over the world. It's already taking over the world. I mean, not sentient AI yet, right?
It's true.
Not sentient AI yet, but we're looking right now like AI is going to start taking over everything. White collar jobs. I just read, and please don't quote me because my brain is very, very small and doesn't remember as much as I would like. But right now, it could be Amazon. I'm thinking. I'm probably wrong though. They're working on an AI that is gonna basically change all call centers. So you will no longer have real people in call centers. The AI will take it. It will do all the calling and the answering, and if you have questions, it'll take care of all of that stuff. But it sounds just like a real person. It reacts just like a real person.
What, so you can like ask it a question? Like, does it depend on like what words you're using in a sentence? So if I could be like, hey, where, like, say I'm calling, oh gosh, I don't even know, Costco, and I'm like, hey, do you guys have any Rice Krispies there? And then the automated voice would be like, we have currently like five quantities of Rice Krispies, and I'd be like, oh, sick, and then I'd go in. Like,
Well,
is that be?
that's that'll be one range of it, but I'm talking all the way to you have a problem with your cell phone, you call in, and it'll be all AI that takes care of it all. Like it's
Well, I mean, I guess I could see that kind of making sense of like a robotic voice being like, "What is your problem?" And you're like, "My screen is blank," and it would be like, "Have you tried?" And it would like list off
but
all
this
these
is the
different
thing.
things.
It's not that. Oops, I did it again.
Hi.
It's not that voice that you get on your cell phone, or it sounds like a person.
Oh, bizarre.
It has characteristics and tonality like it's from what I've understood. Now I haven't heard it,
Okay.
but from what I understood, it is like talking to a person, just like it.
Huh.
You know what I did?
You didn't put.
I did, and then I didn't because I showed you something. Ah, I'm sorry.
He forgot to turn his phone
I
off.
did it
I
again.
remembered.
I know, and I said it to you. I said, hey, try to remember to put your phone in airplane mode so
Yeah.
that it doesn't do exactly what it's
It was
doing right now.
it was really funny because as you were like telling me this and on your phone, that's what I assumed you were doing was
I
putting it
was.
on airplane
I
mode. Then you're like,
did.
hey, wait, look at this
I
thing.
did put it on airplane mode, but then we started talking about delivery, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we started talking about delivery,
Then
and
you took.
I was like, "Hey, you got to check these guys out." So I turned it off airplane mode, showed you, and then I didn't put it back on anymore, and
Oh,
then it
good.
just bit me in the ass. So,
Ah.
now where the hell were we? How's that for chasing a bone, right?
Oh, do you
So
think that like maybe like AI and like just going on to the AI thing, where it's just like I could just be like, "Hey phone, turn off airplane mode," and then it would just like do that?
at some point, I think it's going to be what we see very, very common AI stuff like that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of basic stuff. Um, you're starting to see now smart home technology getting better. I'm still waiting for like the the home like in Back to the Future when you walk in the door, use your thumb to get in or your retina or
Mhm.
whatever, get in the house and you walk in. How are you today, Mr. Braithwaite? And that's what I'm waiting
Oh my
for.
god.
Yeah, I'm all about that. I really want to. But that's what I love. I'm a techie. I'm super excited
Mhm.
about what's coming on in the future,
Mhm.
when it comes to the science and technology and to me, I love it. But on the same note, I am also worried about, you know,
Safety.
yeah, the complications of it. I I don't think we're ready. I don't think we're ready to handle what we have now, and
Yeah.
everything's coming to us so fast already that I really, really think that, what's coming in the future, we're not capable of even comprehending at this point or being able to manage. I mean, big thing right now is being talked about all the time is social media, right?
Yes.
And kids, especially kids on social media, not being able to, um, you know, have the skills to cope with the stuff that's being said or going on and so on, right? And if we're already in that situation now, um, with the technology it's been around for a while. I mean, it's definitely not new by any means. But what about the stuff that's still yet to come?
Can I say something that might be a little bit crazy?
Yeah, I love crazy.
Um,
I'm all about
I
crazy.
have this weird ass theory that like humans are becoming bored with all this technology because a long time ago, and this is kind of like reflecting on the culture of people now and the social media concept is that we have technology do so many things for us, and humans aren't really built to have things done for them. We're supposed to be out like very primitively, like out hunting or out finding, foraging, building, things like that. But because everything is starting to become done for us, we're starting to get bored, and I think that it's starting to take its toll on like humans as like a whole. Because it's such a bizarre out there thing, but it's just it. I think that we're just kind of bored. I think we have to start learning how to do things like build or like how to to do, I guess basically hobbies is what I'm saying, but there aren't enough people going out there and like I don't know.
I think we've got to a point where a large amount of the population, I think, again, what do I know? I'm just me. So, I mean, take it for what you want. But I think we've really gotten on this trend of making things easier for us in our lives, in our daily lives, which is awesome and it's great. But the thing is that even though we've done that or we're starting to do that, it's what are we doing in the off time? What are we doing? And it's usually sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Now there's a lot of people that are out there and they walk and they do things and so on. And I do a lot of stuff with family and all that too. But on the same note, it's very easy to get trapped on the couch or wherever watching shows or YouTubes or and kind of in immersing yourself in that world. And once and you should know a bit about this, but once VR becomes what it's going to become, and it's going to become Ready Player One. It will definitely become something that you'll be able to immerse yourself completely in a world that you almost will not be able to distinguish between reality.
Yeah.
That's where I start to get into the worry of, because now you can no longer get bored.
That's true. That's actually a very good point.
At that point, you don't, you're not going to get bored with anything. You can do anything. You can fly. You can this. You can that.
Yeah.
What I'm worried about is being able to be pulled from reality.
How do you mean?
Or being pulled back into reality.
Oh.
At what point in time does it? Like in Star Trek. Yes, I'm a Trekkie, okay? But in Star Trek, I love Star Trek. Yeah. They have the hollow sickness, they call it, right? Which is just basically being addicted to living in a different reality. And I think things like that are definitely going to become an issue in our future. And I don't think people even understand that yet. It's just hokey.
Well, video game addictions exist.
Oh, definitely.
That's a thing. I mean, I think anything is really addictive per se. I think
to the right person.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I mean, like I'm addicted to like sitting on my computer and not doing anything.
Right? But that's exactly kind of what I was saying, right? It's very, very easy to get caught up in it. I've done it myself. I've had months where I've done it, and I mean, I'm not saying I didn't, go to work or do my job or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, in my downtime, when I wasn't doing anything, I was glued to that. And I mean, is this any better now? I'm just recording me doing it.
It's true, eh?
Right?
Instead of watching the video, you are the video.
This is the wrong topic, Danny.
Sorry.
We shouldn't be talking about how internet is not good. Internet is great.
Internet's
love
the best.
The internet.
Never get
love
rid of it.
The internet. YouTube.
It's the best thing.
YouTube.
Yeah. That's where I spend all my time.
Right? But so do I, and that's the next. There's the next thing, how right?
Yeah.
Like the way we intake media, or we consume knowledge and media now, is nothing like it was before.
Yeah.
YouTube, I forget the numbers, but there's some astronomical numbers at how many people on YouTube are uploading to YouTube per minute. It's like some crazy amount of hours per minute, like
Hmm.
that's being uploaded. And I mean, how much is being watched? Whatever. I have no idea how much is being watched per day. I mean, it's probably astronomical,
Too much.
right? But this is kind of where we're heading, right? So, you know, is it going to be an overwhelming thing, or are we going to actually be able to, you know, reel ourselves back and take a look at where we're at for real and be like, okay, we need to maybe look at things a little differently, the way we are interacting with things. Um, and again, it's maybe I'm sounding a little contradictory, because like one moment I'm like, woohoo, science, great technology, and on the other hand I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
maybe. And as fast as I want it, I just don't want, people getting hurt by it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, to be fair, I think there will be like a period where we're gonna have like too much of a good thing, but I think after a time, I can't possibly imagine humanity as a whole not being able to not get back from that either. So like we might have like a gap where like humans are super into like VR, super into this thing or into that thing, but then there'll always be like the next thing that comes along, and it's so like it seems so impossible to think of something better than like perfect virtual reality,
Right?
right? But they couldn't even think of cell phones that weren't plugged into a wall. Like what, 2030? No, I'm really I think I'm
No,
going a
but
little bit too
yeah, I mean, if you go back to the 70s, let's say,
far.
um, like I had a watch like Dick Tracy. I could make phone calls on it and talk to people. Like it was stuff in comic books is what are in comic books and fiction is what's happening right now, right? So I mean that makes you almost believe that anything you can think of. I mean, to an extent, right? I mean, wishing for millions of dollars is different, but I mean, scientifically, anything you can think of possibly could become reality. My thing is like you said, people might get, they're gonna move on. They're gonna move on. My big thing is there's so many things emerging at the exact same time right now.
Mhm.
Okay, we've got CRISPR, which is allowing us to genetically edit human beings, and so far it's been extremely successful. We got cybernetics on the cusp, right? On the cusp of full cybernetics that look almost human, that react almost human. Okay, we've got AI right there on the cusp also. Okay, and then to top it off, we've got oh really? Elon Musk, almost forgot his name. I can't believe that. Holy crap! We got Elon Musk talking about what? See if I can remember this. Neural webbing, right? Which will allow us to directly interface with the internet.
Oh no.
All this stuff is coming, and it's all reaching a point all at the exact same time. And this is kind of where my kind of is about, because it'd be a little bit different if you had one thing and you could acclimate to it, then you had another thing you could acclimate to it, right?
Hmm.
And if you look at social media, we're still having all kinds of challenges getting used to that, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're not even over that hump and all this other stuff starts flying in,
Too much too fast.
what are we looking at? All right, can
Yeah.
can we can we keep it? And I don't want to make things sound all gloomy, and I mean these things are going to be amazing if you look at them by themselves. They're phenomenal. I mean the neural webbing or what have you. It's going to allow VR even better,
It's true.
because now you can connect digitally into that world, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I guess right now the challenge isn't necessarily the ability, it's bandwidth. You can't move that much bandwidth between the human
Hmm.
brain and the computer, right?
Yeah.
And this neural netting, I believe it's called neural netting, that Elon Musk was talking about. Elon, not Elon. Elon. Oh,
You can
messing
say his
up
name.
names and it gets sued or something. But yeah, that they're working on is gonna bridge that gap,
Hmm.
right? So it's like there's so much stuff. We're coming to a point here where everything's gonna happen at once, and then what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean,
It's
go
it's
ahead.
pretty big. Just to talk about some other things that are possible, because I read a lot of no, I don't. Michio Kaku, who is a Japanese scientist,
Right.
and he has a couple of books released, and but I was reading I can't remember the name of either of the books. I remember Science of the Impossible or something like that, and then there's the brain one, but I cannot. Anyways, so things like telepathy, like being able to communicate with someone just through minds, is actually possible, or starting to become possible. And
Well, here's the thing. Oh, go on.
sorry,
Please finish. Please
okay,
finish, because I seen a butterfly and I started chasing it. I'm sorry. Go right
no
ahead.
worries. But we're getting to a point. What's stopping us mainly at the current point, I think, with when it comes to like going from the brain to a world of that's digital, is we haven't even fully explored the depths of the brain yet, of the human brain.
No, exactly.
We're kind of not even close, which is the
We have no idea
funnier
how it
part.
works.
We're gonna figure out how to explore everything but our own minds at some point.
Well, yeah, that's a bit of a scare, for sure. But as for telepathy, I think you're gonna see that more in the form of technology. Oh, I did it again. I am three. She is two. Anyways, I'll learn. Hey guys, I will learn. I will get it down eventually.
Maybe you should just swap it. If you keep doing it over and over again, why don't
Yeah,
you just
well,
make yourself two and
I'll
your guest?
worry about that later.
Okay.
But thanks. Now I have no idea what I was talking it'll come to me. Give me a second
Alright.
here. So,
Something about
oh,
telepathy.
so telepathy. With technology, I think it's going to be, especially if you have like this normal webbing or whatever, it'll be like you see in anime. You will be directly connected to the internet 24/7. Everything's in your head. It's.
Do you,
Do you need telepathy at that point?
I was more going for like telepathy will come before any of those other things.
I don't think so.
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be I see. I'm not.
Sending information from one brain chip to another brain chip can't possibly be like harder than sending the brain to a computer, because sending brainwaves to a computer, well, now you have to worry about like the safety of the human brain versus like if it's because the way that the telepathy thing works, that when you say words, your brain has specific wave patterns. It's just decoding those. That is the next step. Once you decode them, then once you put the chip in the brain, and then you can do it back and forth. It's not like you're removing anything or sending the brain into something. Necessarily, as much as it is just like reading what the brainwaves and then like working as like that real life translator, like they do with the ones where you talk into it and then it immediately translates.
Right.
It's basically just the same idea, but instead of the language being translated, isn't necessarily English to Japanese. It's
Brain
talk
language.
brain language to brain language, and then like you get kind of like the same. It just doesn't seem that far fetched, if you know what I mean.
Great. One more thing to the pile.
People will be able to read your mind.
Friggin' telepathy cyborgs running around. This will be
That'll
great.
be-
That are genetically engineered using CRISPR. Yeah. The future is looking phenomenal. Phenomenal. Wow.
Yeah.
We just went down a dark path. But no, it's amazing. I mean, it's truly wondrous. All the stuff that's going on. But I wanted to see, because being younger, you definitely see things from a different perspective than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've just started coming to the grasp that
I watched the mouse too.
you couldn't like give me a heads up or something.
I had faith in you that you were gonna hit the right one, and then you didn't. Nah,
Don't have faith.
Oops, whoa.
Don't have faith. Hey, come on, get out of my shot. Take it easy. Don't be moving around. Things are very sensitive. It's like a house of cards, this whole show. Just one little, and it all collapses.
I wasn't expecting a chair to kick me off.
That happens sometimes. It really does. But, okay, so, and again, chasing the bone, and totally lost where I was going with it.
You know what? I don't even remember.
Oh,
either.
telepathy. Yeah. Wondrous and great. Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I remembered now
Yeah.
that I've just recently really started working on the fact and trying to, when I'm encountering and talking and dealing with people, to realize that my perception, what I see, might match what they see like that much.
Yeah.
My perception on reality, what I see, even though I can talk to people and we can agree on things, just the fact that I know for 100% that their perception isn't the same as my perception kind of is starting to make me look at people and situations and the way I handle myself in a totally different light, because of that. Because it's like, I forget who said it, but it's people tend to think that everyone knows the same thing they know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's basically, again, that's that we live in our own perception of reality, and we tend to think that everyone sees the exact same perception that we do, and they don't.
Mm-mm.
Right? Everyone's is different, even though you can see quote unquote eye to eye with somebody and understand where they're coming from. Their perception, the way that they see it, is going to be altered in a way to yours that's different because of a billion different things. The way they're raised, the way they see things, the experiences they've had in their life. So my kind of question to you is do you kind of think about that? But on the same note, do you think that people around your age are even cognitive, just making shit up again, cognitive of that factor when they're engaging with people?
I'm really aware of it, which is why I usually take a lot of time to like clarify myself or over-explain, which is like the worst thing I'm supposed to do because people get annoyed. But well, with my current to I was gonna just talk. I live with my roommates, and we all understand that we have different ways of viewing things. So when we say something and someone goes, "Wait a minute," then we all kind of stop and have to like sit down and clarify what's going on because we all understand that like none of us think the same way. But it's starting to it's. You know what? I actually don't know how to answer that question. I'm gonna be quite
I
fair.
just kind of wanted to see where your headset was with it, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, and I've said it previously in other videos, one of the ways that I find the best way to learn for myself is, of course, doing it, but seeing how other people think about the same thing. That's kind of what this whole stream cams is about right now, and all the programs is just trying to figure out how other people see the same situations I do, where we vary.
Mhm.
You know, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of I want to be able to understand why you do or act the way you do or act.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, I'm gonna learn, is it good, is it bad, is it helpful, isn't it? You know, does it move someone forward? Doesn't it move somebody forward? You know, all those things. And I've never really had the opportunity, other than like with this, to actually sit down and do that with people.
Okay.
So for me, like, just even if I ask something and it's just out there, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. If you don't have an answer for it, you don't have an answer for it. I just want to see like how does your brain kind of digest it, and because that helps me, because I'm like, okay, now, and I mean, I don't want to generalize and say that everybody's going to think, and everyone your age brackets can, but there's going to be a majority
Yeah.
that see things the same way. And I think that helps because one of my annoyances right now. Yeah, I did it!
Yay!
One of my annoyances right now is what I like to call the pussification of the nation, which is just people that tend to get upset, irate, bent out of shape over things that I think can be handled a lot better. Or, you know, whatever happened to water off a duck's back, take it with a grain of salt. Or it's a fucking joke. Right? And I don't quite understand why that happens so much nowadays. And not to knock you by any means or your generation, but that's where it's happening. It's happening in the now I can't speak.
I don't even know what you're trying to say.
Millennial.
Millennial?
Thank you.
Oh, that's the word.
Did not get it out, man. Kept on trying to say Millennium Falcon. I don't know. Anyways, but that age bracket seems to be the ones right now that really seem to have a problem with all kinds of things. And they're not the only ones. There's
Hmm.
different groups of people that are the same way. Um, but I have a problem myself trying to just even understand it. I don't
Yeah.
get it. It makes no sense to me. Um, I I don't care what people think about me or what they
Mhm.
say about me. That's not a reason to leave bad comments though.
Don't do
Okay,
it.
I don't care, but be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, be nice. But yeah, and I want to kind of see, like, do you notice this is a thing in your age group, or do you find it's a hit and miss thing, or do you find that it seems to be just sweeping over everybody?
Things have definitely been. Well, actually, it's really funny to say. I'm like, things have been different since blah blah blah. But I've only been alive for like 21 years. I don't know what life was necessarily like before me, or what your generation is kind of still a mystery to me because I've only ever seen you guys as the adults. You
Right.
guys, so I think to a lot of our generation, it's like you guys are like supposed to be wiser than us. You guys spent so much time on this planet, and some
And
of
we're
us.
not.
No, no, no,
FYI.
no. Yeah, I have quickly learned that people who are older than me don't know about as just don't they don't know any more than I do. But
Oh yeah, I find that a lot of people, especially like around my age, are locked in this shell of a reality that doesn't exist anymore.
mhm.
Right? They're of the mindset, and here I know I'm probably gonna run off onto something else, but
Okay.
and I'll ask you the mindset of, uh, go to school, get an education, you know, go to college, get all that, get a good job, find a good business that's gonna, take care of you, and those things don't exist. They're not around anymore.
No.
But a lot of people, I think my mindset, still have that mentality going for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge.
I think that's one of the biggest things of like the whole millennial versus Gen X, right?
Hmm.
Millennial versus Gen X is that there seems to be kind of like a huge shift in uh, a huge the world is viewed completely differently by both teams. Where like it's the Gen X, they're not inherently wrong. I'm not actually, to be quite fair, nobody's really wrong.
No,
Yes, I do believe that there is stability in, get a home, have kids, have a good job, 9 to 5 job, Monday to Friday,
those things don't
good pay.
exist. That's
They,
the
yeah,
problem.
that's the thing, is that they don't actually exist, but but because I was reading about the reason why this is becoming such a huge issue is because people who are older are holding on to those higher up positions that we rely on to have a home, have kids, have all this other stuff. Minimum wage and living wage is they're wildly different. How much it costs to own a house, how much it takes to save up for college, tuition. It's all widely different now. It's so different that the minimum wage will never ever cover college tuition in a million years. I could work a minimum wage job all my entire life and save every single money that I could while living like it's not possible. It's just not possible anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but in I forget where I was going with this. I got really passionate about it because
You got
I
all
hear all
excited.
this all the time where people are like, oh yeah, just get a job, just save up
Stick
money,
to
just
it.
do it,
Just, yeah,
yeah.
hang in there. No,
Yeah,
it
no,
doesn't work.
I just won't eat. That's fine.
Right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work anymore. It's a reality that doesn't exist. And one of the challenges I find with it is, I'm trying to raise kids, and the stuff that I was taught is useless to them. Like
Yeah, that's
it's totally
true.
useless to them. When it comes to education and stuff, yes, get an education, learn, go to school. You need to learn things. You need to know things.
Hmm.
But I think we really shouldn't be educating as much on, and again, maybe it's just my goofy fucking hippiness in me. I try to stay away from the hippie end of things, but maybe we should be focusing more on learning about, um, philosophy and expanding our minds and becoming better as people,
Hmm.
because you know when the AI takes over, right?
Inevitably.
Right? But I mean, like, but it's happening already. You've seen robots taking over jobs of people.
Yeah,
Your
I was
dad is a
speaking.
prime example. You are a prime example. Okay. And it's happening everywhere. I mean, I like using your guy's example because it was a labor job,
It was.
right?
Yeah.
And I used to hear all the time, "Oh, I'm a laborer. They won't take my job." Yes, you are going to be the first people that are taken out are the laborers because you go to the bathroom, you need to eat food.
Pay
Okay,
price.
some of them like cigarettes and such things, right? You can't work 24 hours straight, right? You get sick, you break bones, and have families that need health care. Okay,
Mhm.
all this stuff. A robot doesn't need that. A robot needs maybe one guy to maintain it, or another robot that's designed to maintain the robots.
Mhm.
But this is what's happening. This is what's going to happen, and trying to teach kids how to live in a society like that, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to. I mean, I figured out. I'm doing what I got to do, but you are literally at that cusp right now where you need to pick a path of, do I follow the old ways and hope that they were right and what they say is true, or do I try to make my own path through the, I don't know, the unknown future, as it were, right?
Yeah.
And go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
let me.
I had two things that I want to say. The first thing I thought of was, do you ever think it's going to be possible where now we've replaced everything with robots and all the jobs taken by robots, then the robots become sentient, they start having robot families, so then they start like demanding rights, and then you have to pay them so that they
Okay,
can have
let's
maintenance.
stay out of the Matrix on this one, okay? We'll just leave the Matrix alone for now because Terminator and Skynet is enough for one podcast.
And the Millennium Falcon and
And
all
then
around.
yeah, right? So and Star Trek. So but yes, I can definitely hear where you're coming from on that one.
I think that'd be really funny.
It would be hilarious, right?
Hmm.
But I think my thing is, and I've talked about this before, and I don't want to sound like I'm just repeating the same stuff, but if you kind of look at trends on things right now,
Hmm.
so with all the AI and all that stuff coming, and then we're gonna have mass job loss,
Hmm.
right? I want to try to get my brother on. He's a truck driver. I want to talk to him because that's another job that's going to disappear very, very soon. Is
Yeah.
driving a truck, and there's all kinds of stuff going on right now in the trucking industry. Um, I'm not going to get into it because I want to talk to him. I want to get him on top about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another slew of jobs. It's going to be thousands and thousands of people that won't have a job anymore because they have a robot to drive from point A to point B, and it'll get pull up to a station, and that station will have robots that'll unload the truck. And so when we get to that point where all that's happening, the worry I think kind of is like, what do we do?
Yeah.
How do we have money? How do we survive? How do we keep going? And that comes to, and I was talking about this with Jesse actually in 2 podcasts ago, and we didn't go deep. We had ended up having technical difficulties, but we it's universal basic income,
Hmm.
which is basically you get a certain amount of money every month over the year, depending on if you're single or you have a family. And we started the pilot in 2017, and it got canceled when Monsieur Ford, jackass. Anyways, when Doug Ford took over and changed everything,
Yeah.
and it was canceled. But the thing is like in the future that's coming, are we gonna need? I think we're gonna need something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something where every month we get enough money to cover the basics. And I think, and I talked about briefly this with my sister too, is I think when you have those basics covered, I think people will start to change
Yeah.
because we no longer have to worry about, is my rent or mortgage going to get paid? Am I going to have enough gas to get to work tomorrow? Can I put food on the table for my kids? And people are dealing with these issues now while they're working without any help. And so, I mean, these will tenfold when the jobs start to drop off. right? And there's been talk of and bad talk about um, the hashtag start coding, which was, I guess, a suggestion uh, brought up to start teaching truck drivers to code because that is going to be a valuable thing in the future. And there's been a lot of hubbub about that and what it means and if it's right or wrong to say something like that. And I mean, I'm not going to even pull my party on whether I think it's right or wrong. Well, all I'm saying is that we are quickly coming to a point where I think we're gonna see a lot of jobs not there anymore, and a lot of people displaced, and we're gonna need something that's gonna allow us to keep moving forward. And I think the universal basic income, and I believe I'm saying it correctly this time, is going to be one of those main keys. But I'm hoping that once that's there, once that kind of stress is lifted off of people, that we can start working towards being better people and not working necessarily towards getting better things.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
I don't
understand.
know. Sometimes I get off on tangents. I have no idea whether or not they really made sense. They do to me, but what does that mean? I mean, seriously, right?
Yeah.
But any thoughts on?
Um, yeah. Well, my path, what the reason why I chose, not necessarily chose a path of life is, but my idea for going into the future and what I'm planning to do with my life and why I'm going to college and all that stuff, whereas I really wanted to get into like the entertainment business, um, namely as a writer, but I think pretty much the entertainment business. And I think the entertainment business and the maintenance, so like programming and other computer, like tech,
Tech.
not
Yep.
tech, yeah,
Yep.
is probably gonna remain mainly untouched by robots, excluding music. Well, yeah, no, I think that the entertainment business will remain mainly untouched by it because like we like to watch humans, we like to, like especially when it like as a writer and the way that I believe that writing is like writing is kind of like from one human being to another.
Right.
That isn't to say that it isn't that because there are AIs writing right now, and they're the funniest things in the world that I've ever read,
I
and
know,
it's
it's
so
crazy.
funny. But they could probably eventually learn how to write something like well. But and there are even now I don't know if you know Miku Hatsune. She's kind of been around for a while, but she's becoming a pioneer for what do they call those? It's like a musical act, a virtual musical act, where it's these robots or these not necessarily AI, but like fictional people or fictional characters as musical idols with their own songs and albums and even stage performances and stuff like that is it's huge and it's big, but things like comedy and feeling and acting and it's very human.
Yeah.
And I don't, and as much as I think that it would be really cool to eventually see like a robot comedian, I don't think that it'll ever the joke like they're not gonna be able to write the jokes.
Who
Wait,
knows?
do you think so?
Who knows?
Do you think it's possible? That would
Who
suck.
knows? Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I mean, when you once you've got to the point, I think, where AI is that pinnacle where it thinks like us,
Mhm.
it's done because it'll hit that point and it'll skyrocket so fast.
Mhm. You can learn
It'll
so much
be,
faster.
my only worry with AI is just we need to be able to program emotion,
Yeah.
empathy, feeling. Because if we can't, I think that's where you'll have an issue. Where we'll have an
Mhm.
issue. Because it's empathy that I think gives humans some of our most great characteristics, right?
Yeah.
Um, because empathy is what makes us reach out to help each other. You
Mhm.
know, it's the thing that will take a person that doesn't know you, has nothing to do with you, and they'll help you. They'll do
Mhm.
something for you. They'll go the way. They'll save someone's life. Right? It's. I mean, I would imagine there might be one or two people that would save someone's life out of pure bravado.
Mm-hmm.
But I think mainly it's because of those feelings, and it's the feelings that stop us from killing someone when they annoy the hell out of us.
Yeah.
It's those that stuff there that I think if we can't figure out a way to embed that into AI, that then we'll have a problem. If we can, I think that's going to be the saving grace for it, right? But I think the AI is endless because once it is like a full entity, once you can create an AI entity, an AI life form, it's done. It should be able to do anything we can do, right?
Yeah.
Ideally.
Well, do you think that AI is kind of like different from aliens? I know it feels very left field, but like we talk about AI as if like it's not the same species as us, or it's not the same thing as us, and it kind of follows the same with like aliens and animals. I guess that the difference would be organic versus technology, but when oh man, I had a path, I swear. It was cool, and I was like, I'm gonna talk about this, and then I completely lost it.
It happens. Trust me.
But programming things like empathy or jumping in to save someone's life, that's not hard. That's what we're literally building robots to do, is for them to sacrifice themselves instead of us
Right.
going in and sacrificing ourselves.
But that's because that's exactly what they're programmed to do.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, I would imagine the whole thing about AI is that at some point in time, it's going to become cognitive,
Mm-hmm.
self-aware, and at that point, um, the programming becomes something different.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, it's almost programming itself.
Yeah, like a
right?
Okay.
So again, even though we can program what we think is empathy into a computer, which is more like if you see someone hurt, you save someone.
Mm-hmm.
If you, right? But that's because it's the programming won't allow it to do anything else but that.
Yeah.
But once, you know, it becomes aware and self-aware,
Yeah.
then theoretically I would imagine it can make its own decision whether or not it wants to do that.
Make a decision. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was saying like where that problem's gonna lie.
I mean, aren't humans technically already sort of like AI? Can't we already make decisions?
Yeah,
don't we
but
technically?
we don't know how we do it.
We don't know. We don't. But maybe like finding out how AI does it, we could actually understand how our brain works, and that'll help us push forward to learning how to do telepathy.
Right? I hope so. I really hope that we don't bottleneck ourselves
Mm-hmm.
with just. I hate when I have a thought and I can't put it into words. I hope that we don't bottleneck ourselves with like the whole AI, all this stuff's happening, and it's going to be the thing that saves us. Because I think that it's going to be the I don't know. Maybe I'm just losing my mind because it's all craziness. When I think about what's going on in the future, I can start running around in circles in my own head.
I really think that the way the future is going to go is probably exactly the way that no one is expecting it to go.
More likely.
We have all these ideas of like, oh, AI is going to come to life and it's going to do like this and it's probably going to be as smart as we are, or all these ideas like Detroit Become Human, and the other thing that you mentioned earlier that I can't remember the name of. I don't think it's going to really end up like that. I don't know. I feel like reality's kind of cool, but it's also not that cool.
Yeah, no,
which is why we play so many video games.
Well, I hear that, right? And that gets into the whole virtual reality thing again, and being able to build your own reality and everything. But I don't know. I think maybe we're just gonna have to sit and ride it out. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
just keep losing our jobs and losing money and not having enough money to.
Well, and I hope maybe like talking like this and hopefully other people talk about it, or people see this and bring up other conversations with other people about the same stuff. Will help clarify where we are, and because I think the biggest just when I thought I was doing it good. I think the biggest challenge that we have is ignorance.
Yeah.
And there are people that know a lot about some things, and that there's a lot of people that are just ignorant to what really is going on.
Hmm.
And I really think that if we don't start talking more about things that people think are weird to talk about, if we don't, you know, uh, as people, not scientists and everyday people explore different thoughts on, what's going to happen, what could possibly happen, what are all these things. I think if we're not talking about this stuff, that's when it's going to go bad.
Hmm.
That's when it's going to happen like that, and nobody's going to be prepared. We got to have conversation. People got to be aware of what's going on. Just about every person I've talked to about CRISPR, never heard of it. And the crazy thing about that is that it's been used. It's been done, right? When I talk to them about neural netting or webbing, whichever one it's called, people never didn't even know there was stuff like that being worked on. There's all this stuff happening. People working on anti-aging. I mean, it could be possible that within the next 10 to 20 years, humans can expand their life to 300, 400 years,
That'd be cool.
right? I think so too. I was talking about that with my sister recently, right? But the thing is like, again, if we're not talking about it, if people aren't having conversations about it, then we're going to run into the issue that when it happens and it hits us, we're not going to be prepared to even comprehend it, never mind handle it.
Well, isn't that kind of the root of the whole millennial Gen X thing? Of like, I feel like the thing that millennials, that in my personal opinion that I've noticed, is that millennials kind of like tend to talk to each other a lot more, namely with other, like with each other, and that's when we start getting into things with gender identity and sexuality and all that other stuff, um, and then, but I feel like Gen X kind of didn't really have that. Because I don't really know how you guys acted when you were teenagers, but you
We
guys
were
had.
just a bunch of idiots that like beat each other up and called each other names until we cried or got over it. I mean, it was different when I was a kid. It was different. We
But
were ballers,
yeah.
hardcore. But yeah, it was totally different.
Yeah, it was very different, and I've noticed like nowadays we've had a lot of overprotective parents, people being like, no, don't do this, don't do that with my child for this reason or that reason.
I'm
Um,
like, just throw them out there.
yeah, but it's this kind of like the things that you haven't seen and the things you're not looking at. Those are the things that are starting to become more relevant, I guess. And when the more we talk, it feels like humans have, despite the fact that it feels like social media. I'm gonna go back to the social media thing, but because of
Right?
social media, millennials are starting to talk to each other about things that they otherwise not have been able to talk to other people about. It's becoming a thing of shared minds, of opinions and talking, and people realizing that they're not alone in the way that they feel, or that they're not alone in um, how they express themselves
Yeah.
or what they want the future to be. And because of social media and the internet, humans are starting to connect now more than ever, and that's where we're starting to get that millennial Gen X um, kind of like fighting, because the Gen Xers are going, what? No, that's impossible. No one ever talked about that. No one's ever felt that way. No one's ever done this before, because the people who were like that before don't have
Sheltered,
anyone to talk
hidden.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it was all loneliness, and it was all being within yourself and not being able to talk. But because of the internet, I can talk to someone all the way across the world in Australia, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, it's about connectivity, and even though we as humans seem to be progressing into an age where it feels like it's going to be either one extreme or the other. We're never ever going to talk to each other again, or we're going to be like always connected all the time, just like in a virtual reality world.
Yeah, well, I mean, or could very well be the eventual step is a unified mind where we're all connected over a giant neural net, and everybody could feel or think, and everybody else is it is a possibility. You don't know, we don't know, right? But I think as for the social media has helped huge, especially with communicating, bringing people together. But I find that the conversation is amazing, and it could be horrible too. It could be so horrible, and it could be so amazing. But I think we need to have that conversation person to person, and not just on the internet. because I find that that's where it's focused. It's focused on the internet where people can be anonymous maybe, or it can be, but I think we need to be having those conversations in the house with our kids, with our spouse, with our friends at work, not just on the internet, with the people that see that on the internet.
Hmm.
You know.
Well, that's kind of the thing that's kind of been he's huge recently is actually bringing those conversations into the house, and that's where we're starting to get things like kids becoming homeless because they came out as gay to their family, or stuff like that. And I do encourage that we should be having those conversations in households because you should be honest with your family, but at the same time, it's also starting to have this like this blowback effect, this I can't think of how to describe it, where it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Right.
Because the thing of it is that the reason why we're having these conversations on the internet is because we can't have them in real life. And I do think that you're right that we should be having these conversations, but because a child and a parent don't always have the same
Oh,
mindset, which I'm sure you know. I'm sure you understand that.
you're telling me, baby. You're telling me.
But it's because they don't because of the perspective thing that the parents don't understand, and it's frightening and it's scary when their kid thinks of something that they never ever would have thought in a million years, or that they never imagined that their child to have. It starts to have this problem of like why we're talking on the internet, why, and instead of talking to people face to face, because if your parents think X about this, then maybe your friends think X about this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it becomes like this gap, this generational gap, because instead of talking to our parents, we're talking to people online.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely, I can see how it's easier and easier to find people that have the same problems or situations, and to have that sound base, to go through. And I'm I would say I'm probably not the average when it comes to parents,
That's true.
because I didn't, and I'm not gonna get into my whole background, but I didn't have the easiest upbringing, but basically I've kind of developed my own style of raising my kids, and it was pretty much to just do the opposite of what my parents did. For the most part. I mean, my mother was extremely loving and so on, but there's just a lot of stuff that they did that I refuse and I will not do, with my children. But I think again, it's hard for parents also to even. I was talking to my sister about depression in the last show, and and trying to, and maybe it's because I'm at that point in my life right now, but just I just want to understand where other people are coming from, whether it be my kids, friends, family, whatever. I want to try to understand where their headset is so that I can understand, because I don't understand so much. I live in a house and they're all women except for me and my cat, and I don't understand. I try to, and I'm trying to learn, and it's not just that, it's everything. I don't understand the way, my children think. My parents probably didn't understand the way I thought either. Um, and I'm trying to understand the way that, uh, that generation is connecting with each other, and it's foreign to me. Says the guy that's starting a YouTube channel. But no, I mean the connections, the way you communicate and all that, it's still very very foreign, to me, and trying to understand where you come from. I think for myself has become a big, big, big part of my life. Not just millennials, but everybody I meet, older people, younger people, all of them, trying to understand. Because I think if I can do that, then I might have a little bit of a better grip on reality. um, right? So I mean, it's confusing and scary, I think, for both sides at this point, and, for some reason we still can't figure out, how to just say it is what it is. It's like I said before, I was brought up with the mentality of just do it,
Mhm.
shut the fuck up, do it. Doesn't matter, just do it, right? And, some people can deal with that. Some people can hack that. Some people need that, right? I'm the kind of guy that I work better when you call me names, and tell me I'm a piece of crap. I work better in the gym that way. I work good under pressure. But it doesn't bother me either. I know I'm not a piece of crap. You can call me it all day long. I know I'm not. So it doesn't, but I think, like you were saying, with kids being sheltered more nowadays, and a lot of parents, holding them back, not letting them go out. That's where this whole free range parenting starting to come out now. Like I thought it was ridiculous when somebody said, like, you let your kid go out to whatever, and she's how old? I'm like, yeah, she knows how to do it. It's across the street, it's to the store, it's half a block away. She's a big kid, she can go and do it herself. Like it's but a lot of parents, they very sheltering of their kids, and maybe that's one of the reasons why you're starting to see the like I said, the pacification of the nation. People aren't prepared, they've been sheltered and held back, and then when they get out there, maybe it's because they're not prepared, they don't know how to handle it right.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there. See, I did it.
Yeah, you did it.
I'm trying to do everything with the wrong hand, so it's weird. But whatever. Anyways, listen, I think we could wrap this bad boy up. It's been a bit, almost probably an hour or so that's amazing. Did you have fun?
Yeah, this was great. I actually really enjoyed this.
I hope everybody out there enjoyed the conversation. Again, listen, anything we talked about, please leave comments. If you have a background in anything, or you want to come on the show and talk more about one of the topics that we've talked about on any show, I will put an email up. It'll be up there, I promise. And it'll also be down in the description. Please comment, share, hit the like button if you liked what you see. And you know how I like to end this, guys. We'll catch you on the flip-flop. All right, we're out. Yeah, I said flip-flop.